Hello, everyone. This is Dan Grijzenhout talking to you again. Today, I want to talk to you about consulting and basically what it means to be a consultant. Introduction to consulting. What a consulting career entails is pretty much the following. A consultant hires himself or herself out to businesses and corporations for fixed length or variable periods of time to perform services that business entity is contracting. A consultant in most instances is completely at arm's length distance from the client corporation and therefore is not going to receive any benefits from the corporation that an employee would, such as medical, dental, holiday pay, etc. Usually a consultant has to pay for all the equipment and tools and software supplies that he or she brings to the engagement, and the costs of getting to the client location are borne by the consultant unless the consultant manages to negotiate some travel expenses, hotel expenses, etc. for getting to the client's site. And that's something done prior to the engagement commencing in most instances. A consultant is usually an individual proprietorship, one person or small person corporation. Often the consultant is affiliated with a larger corporate entity that may have secured the contract, and the consultant then is going in as a subcontractor to that larger consulting entity. Actually, though, sometimes individual consultants, when they are becoming successful and are starting to bring in enough business, they end up bringing consultants in under themselves, and they become a consulting entity in their own right. To work, a consultant has to find each new client and secure a contract for each new engagement, or be affiliated with the larger entity who's doing that on his or her behalf, but then they're expected to pay a percentage of what they would otherwise make to that other entity. A consultant, when working, usually submits periodic invoices to the client on a bi-weekly, semi-monthly, or monthly basis, and then waits to be paid by the client based on the payment terms they've defined with that client. And hopefully they are setting terms that are not too far out so that the consultant does not end up financially at risk. The advantages to consulting, and this was in that other presentation that I did, I discussed the dollars in more detail, but you can command between $40 to in excess of $100 an hour for your time if your skills and experience are extensive enough. Some senior level resources even reach rates as high as $200 to $250 per hour. As an individual proprietorship or one-person small business, the consultant can claim many expenses against revenues received that an employee cannot, such as getting to the client's site, per diem meal expenses, and the cost of running their own business from their home, which I've mentioned in previous presentations already as well. The consultant, once an engagement has completed, can choose roughly when next to look for work again. Major benefit to that is over an employee who basically they're getting their 2 to 3 weeks holiday a year. A consultant can earn as much money in, say, 4 or 5 months, take the rest of the year off if he or she wants to, and still have made as much as the employee. So there's some serious benefits financially and freedom-wise to being a consultant. A consultant is often hired to build new or extend existing capabilities of a corporation because the client is hiring them to do things that their internal complement of staff do not have the expertise for. One of the dangers actually then and I'm using IT as an example here, one of the dangers of being an employee in an IT world is you're often forced to extend or maintain the life of existing systems while consultants are brought in to build the new capabilities using new technologies and new approaches so that at the end of your employee career you're actually significantly out of date and you're now at risk of being let go prior to receiving some kind of pension. And I've seen that many times where the poor employee is not trusted to build the new capability and often finds himself out of work, nearing the end of his or her career with not much chance to find other employment. Disadvantages to consulting, well, you need to directly market and find new clients every time you complete an engagement. So now you have to learn how to do that kind of work, how to market yourself, how to continually shop for your next project. Employees can just work and they're there, for as close to a lifetime as can be imagined. A consultant in most instances will be at completely arm's length from the employing corporation. So you're not getting any benefits. You don't get your medical, you don't get your dental. You have to pay all your costs yourself. All costs relating to getting the client location to complete are borne by the consultant, unless you've managed to secure some time and expenses. Consultant is at risk of getting paid by the client in each engagement. So You have less recourse, actually, now that I think about it. You have less recourse against corporations if they don't pay you. With being an employee, you've got labor standards, you've got all kinds of government programs and support groups to help you get paid if the corporation doesn't pay you. But as a consultant, you're totally at risk. You're either suing them to get your money and having a tough time making that happen, or you just basically walk away if they choose not to pay you. So you have to be careful who you pick and how you structure your engagements as a consultant to ensure that you do get paid. To become a consultant, well, first you've got to put in the time and studying to be able to sell yourself on projects. They've got to like your resume, and that can take years to build that resume, especially if you're going into some of the more complex disciplines like business consulting, financial consulting, marketing, and IT. The education, for example, you need a minimum of a college degree to be able to cross borders if you want to consult in other countries. For example, trade NAFTA status with US and Mexico. You work as an affiliated representative of a consulting company. That'll help you get into another country if you don't have the degree, but that'd be the only way. So you have to basically be representing and be on payroll usually for some other company in order to cross the border and do the work if you're not able to get trade NAFTA status yourself. The resume has to document your experience levels to respective clients, and it's got to be significant enough that they do want to hire you. You're going to be needing your own toolkit, your own computer, your templates, agreements, proposal examples, deliverables, usable references, and they will call them, and access to and registration on several field-related staffing resourcing databases for consultants, which you're going to be putting yourself out there to have other people try and find you work as well, because it's tough to do it just by yourself. Consulting requirements. Being a consultant requires learning how to find clients for your services, how to use bulletin boards, use LinkedIn, Google+, Facebook, other social media methods to get the word out there that you know what you're doing, you're a skill that can be used in a certain discipline, and you're available. How to use the project headhunters out there, how to make sure that you're protecting your rights and your financial income when going through someone else. So you've got to know how to negotiate with those people. You have to know where to go and drum up business. Where are the jobs being posted that you're interested in and can obtain? And you have to learn how to collaborate with major consulting firms that might represent you. So you have to have meetings with them and build rapport and get yourself positioned so that if the right opportunity comes along, they'll place you as a resume on that project. You have to build a good CV, skills matrix, usable reference list, make sure the references know beforehand that they might get a call. Build quality proposal templates. Just doing those from scratch can be very difficult if you're on a time crunch trying to get something in by a deadline. You need to have agreement templates in place for if you do get the engagement, and you have to know how to negotiate the contracts with your client prospects. Traveling internationally consult. Well, options pretty much are anywhere that's a British Commonwealth country if you're living in Canada. Through Trade NAFTA, you've got Canada, US, Mexico, and you can consult in countries that are difficult to get into as well, such as India, but you better know how to do all the documentation that you have to in order to get into those countries and do the work. So always be careful when you're saying, oh sure, I'll come to India, or I'll come to some other country, China or whatever, but be sure you know what the rules are for going in there and actually doing consulting work. Closing comments. In life, employees are often stuck. They work for the same company or whatever task the company assigns them for the wage and that the company chooses to pay them, and they exchange this lack of freedom for the steady paycheck and the promise of a pension at the end of their careers. You, as a consultant, though, have the freedom to work for whoever you want to and do whatever project you want. And this can keep life exciting. It's a very heady experience to be a consultant, and it's quite a high every time a project you want to do actually selects you to complete the engagement for them. So it's an exciting lifestyle. As a consultant, you must take care to ensure that you get paid. You do not have the same safety nets that an employee has. And again, I said consulting can be extremely rewarding financially. But do remember that every time you finish any engagement, you're in effect once again unemployed and looking for your next project. And that can be awfully stressful and scary for some.